All right, I want you to think about the last sales call that you lost. Like the real one, the one that felt really, really good but didn't close. They were engaged, they were nodding, and they were saying things like, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. And then right at the end, they said the famous words, yeah, let me think about that. And then the call just died. Now, here's the thing that nobody tells you. When someone says, let me think about it, they're not actually going to think about it. They're just backing out of the sale. And if you don't understand why, this is going to happen for the rest of your sales career. I used to think that let me think about it meant timing. That, hey, I just need to give them some more space. Let them actually think about it. Send them that email with all the resources so they can read through everything. You know, maybe they needed to sleep on it or talk to somebody, but that's not what it is at all. Answer this. When's the last time you needed to think about something that you were certain about? People hesitate when something doesn't fully click, but they just don't know how to articulate it. So they default to the easiest thing that they can do without offending you. Let me think about it. Today I'm going to walk you through the exact reframe that changed everything for me, that made me stop hearing the words let me think about it completely on sales calls. Truly never happened again, and I'm going to show you how to overcome this so you never deal with this again. If you're new here, my name is Sammy Maybar, and over the past 4 years I've worked with dozens of companies to help them scale to over $40 million in revenue. I've worked with people like Dean Graziosi, Maxwell Finn, Tony Robbins, Ashton Hall, and what I realized is that sales wasn't an aggressive game at all. I used to think before getting into this career that sales used to be like an I gotcha moment where I had to trick people into buying. In fact, the real thing was that I wasn't listening, and that's where I lost sales. So if you really want to get good at sales, the first thing that you need to focus on is listening properly. Here's the reframe that changed everything for me. Let me think about it isn't an objection, it's a mask. It's what people say when they're not fully bought into a process, or they don't feel right saying no. And the worst part about it all is that most of the time they don't even know what's off. They just have a gut feeling that something's not right here. So they delay and give you the answer which you know you're going to follow up and chase them forever, and they're still never going to buy. Most people hear the think about it and they get into objection handling mode. They get excited, they get into action. Maybe it's pricing, maybe it's timing, maybe it's fear, and they go really hard into let me objection handle. And that's why the call goes weird, because you're solving a problem that they never actually named. It's like giving someone painkillers without figuring out where the pain is coming from. They may not voice this out loud, but the true words that they're saying to themselves is, am I 100% certain that this is the right thing for me to do right now? And if the answer isn't a clean yes, the nervous system hits the brakes and says, let's pause here. Not because they don't like the outcome, not because they don't like you. Many times they'll say, hey, you did a great job, which is the worst thing to hear as a salesperson, but because their certainty was never fully locked in. Here's the part that's going to hurt you the most, and this part's uncomfortable. The let me think about it didn't happen at the end of the call, it happened way earlier. It's created when you move past uncertainty way too fast. You mistake agreement for conviction, which is why we need to do double tie downs. You assume buy-in instead of confirming it. By the time they say it out loud, the damage is already done. Here's the core distinctions that you need to understand. There's only two types of objections: uncertainty and logistics. Most people don't understand the difference between the two. Let me explain. Logistics sounds like, hey, can you do payment plans? How does onboarding look like? What happens when I graduate from working with you? Uncertainty is where it goes, let me think about it. And if you treat uncertainty like a logistics problem and you objection handle that way, you've lost every single time. Honestly, this is why trying to close harder at the end feels gross. It feels like an uphill battle and you're just draining your energy for the next calls. You're trying to manufacture certainty instead of uncovering why it never formed in the first place. That's why it feels awkward. That's why it feels pushy. That's why it feels like you're trying to justify yourself and they're not having it. Because then they'll come back to you and say, yeah, look, that sounds great, but I still need to think about it. So the question becomes, if let me think about it isn't the problem and handling it doesn't work, where does it come from? The answer lies in the discovery. If you don't uncover several things, you're never going to understand why they said, let me think about it. We need to understand their pain points. We need to understand their goals. We need to understand what they've tried so far and their urgency. Why now? And then after this, when we do pitch, we need to see that their certainty is truly there. So let's break this down. When you're asking the questions, if you're just asking multiple surface level questions, you're never going to get to the true core of the issue. And the reason why we ask issues isn't for them to say it to us. It's for them to say to themselves, to bring it to surface so they can admit the real problems, so they can admit the real goals, and they can admit the real urgency. Now, the invisible moment that you're probably missing is when you're pitching it and the prospect says something that sounds like agreement, but isn't actual certainty. It's actually uncertainty. Stuff like, yeah, I get that. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah, I can see how it would work. Now, most salespeople hear that and move on. If I don't feel like the prospect is fully bought in, I'm going to pause. Slow down the sale to speed up the sale. That's not commitment, that's politeness, and politeness kills deals. Prospects don't want to argue with you. They don't want to feel dumb. They don't want to get into this I'm not convinced fighting match with you. So they nod, they agree, and they keep the conversation moving forward. Meanwhile, inside their head, they're not feeling sure. So while you're powering away, going through your pitch saying this sounds amazing, they're actually bought in, they're getting less and less excited, and they're going to definitely give you that objection at the end. And then when the price comes up, it becomes even worse. So before we move forward, this is why we need to do the double tie downs. When we ask them something and they say, hey, how do you feel about all this? And they say, oh, it's good. Be like, well, hang on a second. I just want to double check. Does this sound like something that's going to help you get to your solutions? This is why double tie downs and reaffirming with them that they feel good about this is important. We're not trying to steamroll through the sale. We're not trying to just punch our way through the wall hoping they're going to buy. We need to pause and just see if this is resonating with them. You do this by asking more questions. So you can say, hey, how does all this sound? Do you see how this is going to help? What part of this do you feel like is going to be the biggest game changer for you? And only when you feel sold that they're actually sold and bought in, do you continue. And guess what? If you don't feel sold, no reason to just keep going. You may as well end the call then and there and save yourself 20 more minutes of just powering through objections for no reason. Instead, we want to make sure they feel good about the sale. This isn't some weird tactic to just like go through and just trick them into buying. They need to be 110% sold and excited that they want this versus you just selling stuff that isn't something that they want. Pause, diagnose certainty, make sure it's legitimate, and then move forward. Now, let's just assume you've done everything correctly. They've done all their part, but they still have the nerves inside them. Several routes we can go down. The first is we can say, all good, no worries. What do you feel like is holding you back from being 100% certain that this is the right place and now is the right time? That's one direction. Another direction is saying, all good, no worries. I want you to feel 110% about this. Let's go ahead and schedule something out. When do you want to think about this by, 24 hours, 48 hours? How long do you think you need? They tell you, and then you write it down. And then you say, all good, real quick. If you connect with me 2 days from now, 3 days from now, and you feel exactly how you feel today, what is the next move? Asking them like, hey, do you want to move forward? And if they say, well, I'm still going to move forward because I feel good right now, I'd be like, fantastic. So it sounds like we're good right now. It's just more so you want to give this time to make sure that this is the move. And they're going to tell you, yeah, I just want to make sure 110%. Fantastic. Look, here's what we can do, because we want to make sure we're not just chasing people and just calling them afterwards. And you don't want that. I don't want that. My boss is going to raise his voice and just yell at me every single day. So why don't we do this? Let's go ahead and put a 100% refundable deposit down today. That way you can think about it. I'll send you everything. And then when we connect on our call, if you don't feel like 110% of moving forward, I'll refund you the money, part friends, and we'll just take it from there. Sound fair? The reason why we want to do this is because we want them to draw a line in the sand and make a commitment to moving forward. And we're not messing around. This is truly a 100% refundable deposit. But there's multiple options we can go down. And this isn't an objection handling video because I want you to avoid this to begin with. But we can also ask certain questions. And a great question to ask, if you feel like they're nervous and they're scared, be like, hey, can I just ask you a real question? And they'll say, yeah. And you say, is it just fear? And they say something like, yeah, it's fear. And if it truly is, of course, we want to make sure it's not a fake objection. But if it's like, yeah, honestly, it's fear, you can say something like, good. I'm glad that you're nervous. Do you want to know why? And they'll say, why? Because they're going to act confused. And they'll say, because nothing ever good happened without someone being a little bit nervous at first. No one was able to build something amazing or change their lives by being a little bit nervous at first. So the fear, the nerves are there for a reason. I don't want to take that away from you, but you and I both know that success lies through pushing in through the discomfort to the other side where we're no longer nervous. We were a little bit nervous now and we're able to have success now. So the question you need to ask yourself is, do we want to take counsel from our fears and hide and stay, running away from this problem that we've been trying to solve for many, many years? Or do we want to face our problems, our nerves head on and really push through to the other side where we know we can crush it? You tell me which of these two paths makes the most sense. I love giving people an A-B option when objection handling because one of the options is the most no-brainer one they should say. And when we take them down that path, they'll realize that this is the best option. Remember, we're not here to force people down sales. We want to make sure there's a win-win-win for everyone. That's it for this video. If you found this helpful, go ahead and let me know in the comment section. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.